Hello, good morning, afternoon, evening, all. Welcome to another maturity model for Microsoft 365 practitioners. It's great to have you here for our February 2025. We have a session on how to run a maturity model workshop, and we're all the stars here, but Pia is going to be leading that. Can I have the next stage? Oh, actually, can I take control? I think I can take control. So our agenda today, as ever, is to run through an overview of the maturity model and do shout out and pitch times. And I've got Camtasia all ready to go. Talk about how you can contribute to the maturity model for Microsoft 365, and then we'll kick off with the main event. You can join us. Well, you're already here, so you've probably got this link, but you can join us every month. It's the third Tuesday of the month using the aka.ms/mm4m365/invite. And also, if you want to and get notified on all the things which are going on with 365 Power Platform meetup events, then join us on the meetup link below.
If anyone is confused by what happened on Meetup this week, I screwed up. I put the wrong date on it and I had to delete it, and then I couldn't create it again today. So my apologies.
This purpose and why are we all here? We're all here about we want to learn more about how we can get help our businesses and help our customers use Microsoft 365. And to be honest, this is going to be a great session on that. But the purpose of the maturity model for Microsoft 365 is to allow us to do cool projects. It's to allow us to communicate and talk with business leaders, our bosses, our peers, about how we can improve businesses and how they achieve and on their competencies. So we have competencies around improving communication or collaboration, business process, something called AI as well. How can we, talk about that in a way that will get people excited and understanding what the impacts can be using the maturity model to help you get there? And we've got some sessions, some more published competencies. We're still working on the data and analytics and security side, and I'm sure we'll have a few updates to running the MM4 Microsoft 365 workshop after this session. Who'd like to pick up on slide 5?
We have a question from Van.
Yeah, going back one slide there.
Sure.
I don't know how many sessions you've had. This is the first one that I've attended. But under the published competencies, have you gone over each one of those already, or?
Yeah, so we've got about, it'll be 5 years, won't it, in July this year? So yeah, we've been through a number of them, and there will be a link shortly to a YouTube channel which has all of the previous sessions, so you can catch up on those. But to be honest, we are refreshing these and updating and going through. So but have a look, and if you've got any questions, then just reach out to us. We're all active, and we'd love to get your thoughts as well, especially. So thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome. My big area is governance, risk, and compliance. That's why I asked.
Oh, cool.
Well, if you've got any questions, Van, feel free to ask me. I co-wrote that particular competency, so happy to help if I can.
Yeah.
Good job.
If you have a look
Thanks.
for the session with Nikki, Chappie, and Simon as well, that's when it was that competency was first introduced. So that's a great place to start. You'd like to have a chat about the levels?
Oh, I suppose I ought to do that. I'll put my cup of tea down. Professional stuff, this. So the whole of the maturity model approach is based on this original piece of work from the Carnegie Mellon University that basically set out a set of 5 levels at that time for software development. And we've, over the decades, because it's the work we're currently doing was based on a piece of additional work that Sadie Van Buren did that took that Carnegie Mellon model and applied it to SharePoint when SharePoint was basically the only game. Now we've got a much bigger set of tools in 365. We're trying to actually encompass all of that, but these are the core levels. You start at level 100, which I tend to refer to as the rubbish level. It's where you've just started up an organization or a process or Yeah, or some new product, and you really don't know what you're doing, or it's all chaotic and at really early stages, or you're just a terrible company and need to fix it. So this is where your processes and your people and your culture and all those things are a mess. You've got not really much documentation, no repetitiveness, no concept of where you should be going. And then we move up through the levels. Level 200 is typically where organizations know that they've got a problem, know that they want to improve, and start taking steps, not always very effectively, but start taking steps to get themselves to a good place. Level 300 is a good place. Level 300 is where most organizations should be with most of their processes most of the time. So they understand what their processes are, they've got some documentation, they've got some standardization, they've got some adoption and some consistency. And most organizations are going to be there for most of their stuff. Some great organizations get themselves to level 400 on some of the things they do. And that's where you've got feedback loops and you're anticipating problems and you're making your business processes and your approaches very adaptable and also responsive to the needs of the organization, usually using data and feedback. And then you've got this nirvana stage, which very few organizations have, and then only in one or two parts of their organization, which is level 500, where things are so well organized that they tend to fix themselves. They tend to look forward and build against problems before they come, and they're using really sophisticated tooling, cultures and processes to stay on top of it. And those are absolutely, the handful of world-class organizations in the world. And we've got definitions within this table of what those characteristics of those different levels look like, and a sort of a statement of, what the mission would be at each of those levels. Everything that we do after this is built on those core statements. So when we get into a competency, you'll see versions of those and all the characteristics are categorized by those levels.
Well done.
Thanks, Simon. Right, it's P&P picture time. So please turn on your video and we'd love to grab a together mode pick. It might take us a bit of time to find the right buttons to press, but we'll get there. I'm just going to...
We really do want people to turn their video on. If you're shy, we don't mind, but yeah, it'd be great if people turn their pictures on because we use that to assemble these. This is how their pictures.
Yeah, this is how we show people that we're the popular kids.
Yeah,
if you don't turn on your videos, then we just have to lie.
Oh, there we all are. Brilliant.
No, really, we love to have these videos to. These screenshots to make sure that we can show how great this community is.
Absolutely. Right, if you could all wave and cheer and all that stuff, thank you. We're all good. Thank you very much. Right, I've got that. Mark, would you mind sharing again, please?
Yes. Right back at you. Okay.
Oh, all right.
Next slide.
Too many times.
There we go.
Right, Mark, could you take this on?
Sure. So, this, like we said, this is a community. This is community supported. It's not, Microsoft telling us what to do. This is the people on this call, and we just recently ran some numbers, and we've had almost 600 people come to these calls. So we'd love to have you get involved in, in whatever way is something that you're comfortable with. You could present a case study. How have we done something with the maturity model in our organization, or some things that you've learned by going through a maturity model approach inside your organization. You can contribute on GitHub. All of the articles in the videos that the maturity model lives in are editable through GitHub, and that can be a little bit intimidating. So if you just have some feedback, you can get it to anyone on the team, and we'll try to do something with it. But if you want to contribute directly at GitHub, you can do a pull request and make your suggestions. Also, just socialize the thing. Help us let people know that the maturity model for Microsoft 365 exists. Use the social channels, talk to people in your organization. We'd love to sort of spread the word. We feel like we've got a really good corpus of content here. So these calls, as I think we've already said, is sort of a safe space. And so if you have something that you want to ask and would like to put it in the chat or whatever, we were happy to try to answer your questions as well. So we try to make this discussion based. At the same time, we're trying to get through some content to give you some more fodder for your thoughts, and we'll see how you can contribute. There's some links there that will take you, as Simon said, to the videos for this set of calls, as well as the content itself. And I will move forward. That's right, I'm driving. So this is where we are. We have a partial schedule for this year. We try to set a schedule that goes out at least a few months. We'd love to get it sort of beefed up for the rest of the year. So if you have any suggestions about what you'd like us to cover with the maturity model, please let us know. I know we always have new people joining. We do try to loop back through some of the competencies and cover those, but we also have new content on a fairly regular basis. There's a practical scenario on branding that Simon Hudson has been working on, so we'll be talking about that in April. Next, in March, we'll be talking about maturity model and AI agents with Simon Doy. We have 2 Simons on the team, makes it more fun. And then May 20th with Galen Keene, and his last name there, he's on the call as well. So our next session will be March 18th with maturity models and AI agents. There are a couple of links here that can again help you make sure that the calls are on your calendar. Our font is getting smaller and smaller as we have more and more people join each call. That January call, I think we had 70 some people. We're up to 70 today, which is awesome. We love getting the word out about this. I think we talked a little bit about what we're working on. This is the list of content that we're actively trying to improve or add. So if there's anything about these that are of interest to you, please reach out and we can certainly use your help or your thoughts. And now on to the main event, how to run a maturity model workshop. You've all seen the stuff on the right side of the screen for calls. It's just to let you know if you have a question, you can raise your hand or come off mute. And without too much further ado, I'm going to go to the next slide. Nope.
Yeah, here we are. Ooh, stop there.
That's what you want. Story of Pancom, correct?
Story time, yes. So, I've had a little bit of fun with this because it's really difficult to explain the model. There's so much content, and all of us IT consultant, well, most of us here are probably IT consultant. We always answer questions with "it depends." So I've created a case. It's completely fictional, but you might get some sense of like, yes, this is how it is very much like in a normal business. So this case about Pancom, I wrote a piece about it. I will make it available for everyone who wants to. Just let me know in the chats afterwards. But we're trying now to tell you like how to run these workshops, or like how to get the maturity level, because the important part of this is not how to do it. When we were talking about this, we all do it in different ways, but the important thing is to get the right people in the room, to have the right conversations, and get the business to talk to the business. So I'm going to show you a short video. I hope that the video gods are with us. It's about 2 minutes, so here we go.
Pancom was a renowned communications agency, but cracks were beginning to show under the surface. Missed deadlines, disorganized workflows, and client complaints were piling up. Staff was getting upset with slow systems and computers that had seen its better days. They had a capable team, but it all seemed so fragmented. There was no real clarity in how to become a modern workplace. The lack of understanding held them back. Stephen, an experienced consultant, introduced Gail, the CEO, to a structured approach, the maturity model for Microsoft 365. We need to assess where you are today before building for tomorrow, he said. Then it happened. Poor George. He lost his computer on the train with some real sensitive data and his last 2 months of work. The seemingly small mistake was causing panic across the office. The incident revealed serious security gaps. Can we wipe it? No, it's too old and I don't have the software. Can anyone get into it? Yeah, it doesn't take a genius to get to the information on the hard drive. Did we lose any documents that has to be redone? Well, George doesn't know how to use cloud backup, so yeah. To be fair, we don't have training on it and we have no policy requiring people to use it. Gail suddenly saw it clearly, how the complaints and the cracks all connected. This isn't just George's mistake, she said. It's a sign of deeper issues in how we work. She gave the go-ahead for the quick assessment and Stephen held a workshop to identify current state, pain points, and set a 12-month goal. We will not bore you with the details on the leadership decisions, initiatives, implementation of fresh technology, moving people around, letting go of a guy, trainings, documentation of business processes, the stumbles, the wins and all of that. But yeah, it happened. If you want, you can read the whole story. Let us know in the comments. Today we are going to look more closely on how to actually do the quick assessment.
Is it cool to laugh at your own jokes? I don't know. Yeah, so the point is like, this is normally how it happens, right? In a business, like you have some tech and it works and you don't really work on all the levels to get it to get to the point. So we can click through to the number 6 step here, because that is in this in the case that I written. It's, you know, how this all happened, how it came to be, and some of it might be, you know, enjoyable for you to read, or it actually could be helpful to really understand. So this is like the prelude to the point where we're going to talk about how to run the oh, that was an echo. I thought someone was saying something. Okay, that was just me. And how we get to it. So the important thing is like the type of people that we want to be in the room when we do these sessions, because it's, no, right, go to the next one. Thanks. Is that we want to have people from the business, right? We want to have all types, because they need to understand that they're all a part of the problem and they're all a part of the solution. So we need to have leaders of some sort. And we need to have from IT, obviously, but also HR and communication and facility and legal. We all need to be in the room. So we have another video as well that we're gonna, where we you can go to the next one. When we're in the core team, we're doing some stellar method acting when we're acting out to be like how this conversation could really go. And I want everyone to look at Mark Legal, because he acts like all legal does. He's completely ignoring the rest of us. That is the best part, I think. So let's go for this one, and then afterwards we'll have a little discussion. Okay, go.
So one of the things I typically ask my customers is regarding things like standardized templates and standardized images and things like that. Is that something that you use in your organization?
Well, it's something which we're looking to do. We're looking to, you know, use some like SharePoint and organizational assets, but you know, we haven't really got that organized as yet. So it is something that's
templates on my computer. I use them for all of my sales pitches.
Okay.
Well, I have it locally on my computer. Like I put it on my desktop, and then on the file server, we have some really good stuff. It's old, but I go there to find them.
Oh, I can't get at those when I'm out on the road, so I just use my own stuff locally.
Okay. Is it a common thing for you to sort of repurpose old material, sort of just clear out the content and use an old document as a template?
Yes, but not an old document, the latest document. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I obviously do the same. Is there a different way to that?
Oh, there are plenty of different ways, and we can come to that as well. But let's start by digging where you really are. Where is your organization? What are the practices that you're actually using right now? We can talk about ways to improve that later on.
But I
Okay.
always tell people that if they want something, they could email me, and I will email them back some good content that they can use if they want.
Okay. Would it be helpful to you if there was such a thing as a repository with standardized templates that you all could use?
Sure. That would help me a lot because I do answer emails a lot, and I know that the sales guy, they get a bit annoyed if I'm not available, because when they're out with the customers, they want answers quickly, and sometimes we might have a little tiff about that.
Well, Simon, I also heard that you were saying that you have a hard time getting to the templates when you're on the road, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know where the templates are because we can't connect to the server thing when we're out, so we all just keep it on our computers. I mean, we update them during our sales meetings, but yeah, pretty much everyone looks after their own templates.
It's because of the VPN thing, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, that's a problem, isn't it? Yeah, it gets in the way. Sometimes we have problems keeping the VPN
It's in the way.
updated.
It's an absolute nightmare. I can spend longer trying to get into the VPN than I can take getting into the CEO's office.
Yeah. Can't we just remove that? I mean, there's a lot of people complaining to me in HR about it's just a hassle.
Well, no. I mean, people have to, they need to be able to access the systems within the network. You need a VPN to be able to talk to those systems and get access to those files. So we have to have it that way.
Well, we can talk about the solutions to that problems later, but there are solutions, and one of them might be to move the resources to the cloud. But like I said, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's try to focus on the problems right now. And while we're talking about infrastructure, I heard a lot about this George incident, or whatever you call it internally.
Poor George.
Can we talk a bit about that? People forget computers sometimes. That happens. I read somewhere the FBI had a list of where people typically forget their hardware, like phones and laptops and things like that. And taxi cabs is obviously a popular place. But let's talk about why was it an issue that that computer got lost? What was the issue?
Well, I mean, people never bring their machines to get them updated, so they don't bring them in. And bring them onto the network so we can update them. We ask them to do that, but they don't. I want to really be able to, make it compulsory that they come in and attach it to the network to update every week or so when we do our patches.
Every week? I can't go into the office every week. I mean, what's that about?
Oh, you've got to, we have to make sure we keep your systems up to date and secure.
Sure, but I don't know when I'm going to be able to get into it. I can't just drop client meetings and come into the office because the computer's out of date. That's ridiculous.
So, let me just ask you, so if there was a way where you could update or manage the computers remotely wherever they are, that would be a big help. Is that correct?
That sounds amazing, yeah.
Okay.
Well, as long as whatever that is doesn't happen while I'm in the middle of a meeting or working, then I guess that would be all right. But I need some convincing.
Okay. So I've heard that the computer George was using using an older version of the Windows operating system. Is that correct?
Yeah, so George, he's an old guy. He doesn't want to learn new things. So he's very comfortable with Windows 7. He's been using it a lot. So he didn't want a new computer. And he had so many things on his computer that he's been using for years. And they weren't backed up properly, because also I think there was some issue with it was too old, but he emailed me documents every now and then so I can put him on the file server, but it would really interfere with his very, very important work.
So, but is George an isolated incident? Is everybody else using like standardized hardware and standardized operating system?
It is a bone in contention. I've been trying to get some more standardization, getting all the operating systems up to date to the latest ones, but it's getting that budget across, getting people, the management to buy into why we need to upgrade the operating system. That's been really tricky.
Well, I just bought my own laptop. It was much easier that way.
Have you connected that to the network, Simon?
Yeah. Wasn't I supposed to do that?
Okay.
Please don't argue.
We'll have a chat after this.
Oh.
But and also, because if we upgrade all the software and everything, then we have to do a lot of training, and I don't know the operating system that well, so I can train everyone myself. So that's an issue.
Well, let me go on with a different question. When we're talking about the security configuration of the computers that people are using, is there like a standardized setting that you have for all computers, or?
We just people just the IT team, they just we'll set it up from sort of their memory, and they'll just make changes and as they require. So it's not always consistent, but we generally get it set up correctly.
It's the screensaver thing, right? Where it gets locked automatically. I have that. I have a very secure computer.
Yeah, we turned it off for Simon though because he didn't like that.
No,
He's getting away with his client meetings.
It would lock presentations out in the middle, but I do have a password, and I change it at least every year.
Oh, well, that's good. That's a good practice. Do you have that as a standard procedure that people change their passwords?
Oh yeah, I tell all of my team to change their password at least every year.
That's so annoying. I never remember passwords, so I have to put it on a post-it note and I put it under my keyboard. Don't tell anyone.
Yeah,
Is that the yellow post-it note with the confidential at the top? I think I saw that on your desk.
When were you at my desk? Wait, what are you doing at my desk?
Oh, I just stopped by to bring you a coffee.
You were stealing cookies again, weren't you?
Maybe.
Yeah. So this is some of our problems we have.
Yes.
Some of our users. Yeah.
Well, the good thing is you're not alone. I have several clients, and I know a lot of customers around the world who have exactly the same problem that you have. But there is a way to sort of enhance the way that you work, and it's called the maturity model for Microsoft 365. I'm sure you know already, because that's why we're here, and that's why we're sort of digging into your problems and see where in a scale of 100 to 500 where you would fit in various competencies, in various categories of how you manage things and how you work with your modern computing platform.
Well, I'm guessing we're at 300 or so. I mean, we're better than some of the people I know in other companies. So can we just crack on and get that done? I mean, I've got meetings to go to, so.
I think we're probably lower than that, but yeah, I'm excited for us to start this exercise. I'm really excited.
Yeah, I don't really understand what is a level. I have a different level than the other ones have, because I'm better at organizing documents and these things. So I think that I am on a higher level when it comes to documents. So.
Well, I'm sure that could be correct, but we're not really measuring individuals' competency or maturity in these competencies. We're talking about the organization as a whole.
Okay, that was a wild ride. So let's open the floor. Does anyone recognize this? I can see some of the comments, and that makes me very happy. Yeah, a lot of thumbs up. It's really hard to make this like in reality, right? Because people do not share this stuff, but this is normally how it happens. So someone had their hand up. Please, join us.
Sorry about that, misclicked. I was going to give you a thumbs up, but everyone knows that the password is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
That's the password for my luggage. Spaceballs reference. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, Adina, you had your hand up. Well, and this is like normally how it is, right? These are the discussions that we're having with the business, and it is a bit of a pitfall to just try to not get these annoying people in the room. We want to talk serious stuff with serious people, but we have to dig where we stand, and we have to get the business to understand these different things. So we have another video, also like a shorter video, but we'll come back to do some more discussions about how we can do this. So we're going to go talking about how we actually get these people to talk about the levels and everything. So take it away.
So in this communication competency, there are different levels, like I explained. There are 100 up to 500, where 100 is sort of ad hoc. It's nothing really planned or structured. And level 500 is that everything is nailed down and planned and well organized. So if we look at the typical things that we can see on level 100, and you should see that on your screens right now, we might see that there's heavy use of email to circulate information and lots of attached documents. And content in emails become stale as soon as it's sent. So corrections after the fact means that we have to send another email and things like that. And there's no real tracking of readership. We don't know who read the communications and things like that. That's the level 100. If we go up to level...
ask people if they read my email. I go and ask them.
Okay. Okay. Can you make a note of that you asked them? So you keep that information, because we're going to vote in a minute, and we're going to look at where in these levels we are. So if you have whenever you see something that you recognize and says that, okay, that's us and that's me or whatever, then make a note of that on a paper.
Okay.
All right. So if we look at the level 200, then there might be a lot of more guidance, a lot of more standardized images and logos and things like that. And there might be some...
So we already do level 200. I think we talked about that before. I mean, I've got templates for me and my team.
Right.
So does that not mean we're already there on this? Can we skip this and move straight on?
But
we don't have this in HR. I know it's just me and a couple of others, but we don't have this. So didn't you say that was supposed to be for all of us, one number for all of us, and not like individual numbers?
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you where these things are, but so that's how we communicate. The fact that these templates are there available.
Yeah. So if you compare this to the level 300, where everything, templates, images, and logo assets are available for everybody, and everybody's encouraged to use them. Would you say that you are level 100, where there's no templating or everybody has their own individual templates, to level 200, where there are centralized templates for logos and newsletters and documents and things like that you're free to use, but you're not really told to use them, up to level 300, where there is a central place, so everybody knows these templates exist and everybody's encouraged to use them.
Well, we've got a central place in sales.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the organization as a whole.
And also, you in sales, you send me so many emails where you're requesting templates that you don't have all of them.
Okay, what kind of stuff do people ask for? I'm sure we've got everything.
Well, it's time management thing and vacation thing, and especially there's a lot of stuff around the invoices and receipts that you do on the road. Yeah, so like with HR stuff, maybe you have like sales stuff on your computers, but when it comes to my things, that you really reach out a lot, and I have to send you the same email a lot. Yes.
I guess.
But if you look at this from, let's try a different perspective, because I feel that you are really looking at what you yourselves are doing. But what's your impression of the whole organization? How do you feel that the rest of the organization is doing in this competency? If you
Well, I
would,
think they're pretty rubbish. They ought to
if you
catch up
give
with
that a
sales.
number, if you would give that a number between 100 and 500, where would you put your organization? So shall we start? Who wants to go first? Who wants to start?
I would say like a little bit below 200, because like we have some structures, but it would be really nice if we could have like all the templates and stuff in the same place. So everyone would know where to go, and everyone would know where to like put those templates that we reuse.
Well, I guess that would be good, but we're not there yet, are we? So,
Yes. So a little bit below 200.
so show me that 200 again.
Absolutely.
Okay, so youth templates. So they are in place in some cases. And I certainly get my team to do them. But
Well,
I think what you're saying is it's not the same everywhere. So I'd
Yeah,
have
and
said we're at 200.
well, there's a problem. I think that if we would have one central place, because we use the file server a lot, and you have other things because you can't reach the file server when you're on the VPN. So it's not really in a place, it's in many places. And
Okay, so
well,
let's cut to the quick, because we're in
Fine.
sales, we need to make these decisions quickly. So I think that we're probably around 200, maybe 210, 230 even in sales, but definitely I can see some value in being at 300.
yes, I would love that. That would save so much time for me,
okay.
especially in the
So
weekends. Yeah.
now I'm going to put the numbers down in the workbook, but I'll remind you that it's a placeholder for now because there are more aspects of communication than just templating, and we're going to go through them in a minute. But let me put the numbers in here so we just remember them. So if we look at the IT department, you would say that.
I'm going
you
to say we're
say
230 if we had to pick a number.
Yeah. So sales, that's you, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
So you
And
did say IT, but I of course ignored that.
Yeah, but you mean you said you would be around
230.
230, okay?
And I think that we in HR, like we're probably just, we're 200. I would say that we're 200. But looking at, the creative operations hub and the IT departments, like they never have anything. So they not way below us. I would never say that, because that's a very unkind thing to say. But if we say like maybe they're 170, then I don't think we would offend anyone.
Okay. So and the organization as a whole, where would you place that? I mean, now we're talking about everyone, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess thinking about it, there's plenty of places that are not driven by this stuff. 180.
Yeah. 180 seems fair. Yeah.
All right. And that means right now we have a mean of a level of 200, which is not terrible, but not great. But let's look at some of the other aspects of this communication competency, because there are plenty more to go through.
Okay. So, great. Let's discuss.
If anyone was paying attention, they were actually looking at the governance competency, not the communications competency. But that's just because it's a play.
Yes. Yeah. And I want to do a shout out to the core team for being such good sports and letting me play and act this out. But I think this is important because a lot of people joining us on these calls, there are confused and like how do we use this? How can we use this tool to drive awareness and to do something? Because it's so important with the different competencies, right? Like we can be at 300-400 with governance and risk, and then maybe a lot less on some other levels, and that could also be different between departments. Maybe marketing department is a lot better at communication within the teams and collaboration, as in others are not. So there are different levels and different spaces, but it's also important to be able to see like, okay, this is where we're at. And the next step is not to go to that sci-fi step, but for this group, this is what the next step we need to do to handle this thing. So anyone wanna,
I'll kick straight in, Pia, because I've been tracking quite a lot of the chat. I guess one of the things that we ought to stress is this is just us doing a role play. Can people turn their mics off because we've got some echo here?
Yeah.
Lovely. So yeah, it's just a role play. People who are running these kinds of workshops, it's essential that you make this your own. Do whatever works well for you and your client or organization. I mean, I've run a couple of dozen of these types of workshops over the years, and I've got my way of doing it, but my way isn't necessarily the best thing for you. So make it work however you want. Muck around with the spreadsheet that we've got within the assets and the approach to do whatever works for you.
Yeah. And it also depends a lot on the people. Like now, I got really annoyed with me having an annoying, nagging voice, and it actually, it's had a little scratch in that. But there are people who are afraid. There are people who are pushy and are not, listening to other people in the room, and that's when we have to balance that out. And really be able to ask this question, well, is this true for all of you? And Sharon was telling us last week that when she does this, she goes and interview certain people and take it back and show it more like, okay, this is where we're at and this is where we could be for the next step. So Sean, you have your hand up. Go.
Hi, yes. I saw the comment, we don't, like, this is separate from Microsoft as a whole. This is kind of a grassroots effort. But does anyone talk to the product team or people that develop those KPIs to steer them back to what these calls are doing? Because we have a lot of people on these calls, and I feel like we can somehow get a voice out to make those kind of align with what we've learned in the community. Is that ongoing at all?
I would say that one of the bridges there is the MVP community. We make suggestions, we give them input, but that doesn't mean that they change their direction. I mean, they have I don't know the right way to put it, but they're sort of answering to different goals. What we're trying to do is be as realistic as we can about what happens in the real world, and we also see organizations as consultants who use these tools in ways that are not necessarily the way Microsoft either expects or suggests. So I would say that there's definitely some back and forth. The Microsoft folks I know are aware of the maturity model, but they aren't necessarily taking it in to use internally.
I mean, just to add to that, one of the reasons for the difference is, as Mark says, the Microsoft people have got their own objectives or drivers, but also they tend to be very focused on the product sets. And within the maturity model, we've been very deliberate at being technology agnostic. in the practical scenarios and some of the other collateral, we do talk about specific products, but we've tried to present the general business case, regardless of what technologies you have available to solve those. So, so it's not that there's any tension between us and the Microsoft people. We're just trying to achieve different goals with what we do with our maturity approach, and as ours is completely anchored in this Carnegie Mellon capability and maturity model at its outset.
Yeah, and also a lot of organizations I've heard out there are not 100% Microsoft in all of their technology and using everything. There are third parties, they're, a mixed bag of things. So we try also to do that in the competencies, is like you should have control over these things. We don't specifically, we try to not name drop specific services in the maturity model. So the Van, you put in there that you were looking for ITAM and license compliance and how you measure it. Well, it's because it's very different for different things. So it's really hard to give, like, this is clear on all of the things because of the environments that are out there in reality. And this is also somewhere where, in this space where we're at, this is where Microsoft usually call it the partner opportunity. They don't really drive the kind of things. This is more like business development more than IT management, I would say.
Yeah, and I will say that when I posted the link in my IT leadership chat, one of the directors, like, Microsoft's great at marketing stuff, right? That's the immediate response, so even without reading it. So it's on us to kind of, on me to like, no, they're doing this agnostic to technology. Like I've always said, I use SharePoint because it's the best tool. I believe in it 100%. When it stops being the tool, I'll stop being a SharePoint person, right? So that's like the knowledge management side, but it's been the best tool for so long. So I posted in the chat one of the things I say for my modernization slides on why it's good to not email files, but send links. So I've really been trying to do this on my own with my monthly business report to kind of show how we're adopting further. So I'm excited to, when we can meet Simon, to talk about what I've done, what we can do in sync, and then figure out where those connections are that Microsoft has added the KPIs. Because that's what the leadership really sees, right? I can send a link to the dashboard and like, hey, this is what you see on the back end. This is how I'm driving it. So
I think this is really good stuff, actually, Sean. Obviously, having those KPIs within the adoption dashboards has been a sort of a bit of a game changer from Microsoft, shifting them from just trying to sell product to try and actually make a difference. Again, though, they only tend to measure the things that Microsoft can track, whereas within the maturity model, we try and look at the wider business context. And a lot of those things have tended to be subjective. So what we've tried to do is create a set of criteria to turn the subjective business improvement into something you can kind of measure. You can go, we do 17 out of these 42 things, or whatever the number is, at this level, and therefore you can synthesize a metric, if that's what you want to do, for the things that are not directly embedded in the technology. And together, those give you, a more holistic approach to being able to say, actually, not only are we doing really well, but here's Microsoft numbers that demonstrate, even on the tech side, we're doing it well. It's a good point. It's a good point.
Yeah, thank you.
And the importance of, the maturity model, it's not really to measure things, it's, the levels between 100 and 200 are so, it's more of getting people to understand is like, okay, we're at this level, because sometimes, I don't know, maybe this never happens to you, but it has certainly happened to me that I've been involved in projects that are shooting way too high and they can't really manage to make that change. And also, a lot of different people don't understand the impact of a change. So they make, some, especially when it comes to security things. So it's like, oh, we're going to put on labels and everything, and you can't send email if you haven't tagged it right. And we really need to take control of this. And just the business isn't ready. They're like, no, I'm using, my home computer is my Windows 7 that I borrowed from my kid. And you'd be like, what is going on? So you really need, this is more of a tool to reach out to and to get the consensus, right? It's just like, okay, this is what we need to do, and this is what we need to do first before we can move on to the next level and then to the next level. Because also that what happens with organizations is when they start learning about these things, they just get more stressed. Because when they understand how much there is out there that they don't understand, they'll be like, well, it doesn't matter if we do this one thing, we were still not able to do the 500 next week, and I hate this, so I'm going to just go home and, just bury my head in something. So it's also important to give them a roadmap.
Yeah, I think the other problem is often that people try to boil the ocean. We need to get better at everything all of a sudden. And one of the things that splitting things up into these competencies, I hope helps people do is, well, let's decide which things we need to get better at, because our organization is, we're like this. And so our scores ought to be the way we think our scores should be, not the way somebody else's scores should be. I always use NASA or Boeing as examples. Few organizations, maybe I shouldn't use Boeing anymore, but NASA, few organizations have that kind of, critical mission kind of maturity required all the time. There are many organizations where if they get to level 300 on something like management of content, they're more than happy. That's great. But they also might really think that security is important to them. And so that score should be higher. So it's all about adjusting and figuring out what the goals are for your organization, not having someone else tell you what your goals ought to be.
I think that's a great point, Mark, because even with PanCom, right, they have some very near-term goals that they need to achieve, and that helps drive the conversation with respect to where they're going to focus on improving in the context of the maturity model. And what's interesting about those scenarios, and I think often what we experience, is that you can see how the competencies overlap, and where improving in one area is going to, the rising tide lifts all boats, right? So there's going to be some improvements across the board, but as well, you might negatively impact some other areas. So understanding that and having your champions, your leadership understand that, so that you can build out the roadmap to achieve more over time. That's a great point, Mark.
If we could add Copilot to any of the future role plays, that'd be nice. Because I have some people that are like not even level 100 across the board, and they're like, let's use Copilot, right? They're not doing anything technology. They're on like Windows 1, right? Not even Windows 7. And they want to use Copilot. And it's really like, you're over here trying to make the company get to the middle. So.
Yeah. Did I hear that you want more role play?
But that's a great example, and we've had a couple of sessions that we've talked about Copilot in various ways, but you need a certain maturity level to be able to take advantage of Copilot. And it's not just security, it's not just management of content, it's also communication. How do you let people know what it is and how they can use it? It's a licensing challenge. There are a bunch of different things. And so infrastructure, there are a bunch of different aspects to any new technology that you decide you're going to take on board, that this framework ought to help you sort of, hold that up and say, okay, but, if we're going to do this, if your a great example is if your permissions are way out of whack, which a lot of organizations have as a problem, Copilot's going to find all kinds of things that you didn't want it to find. So that's not necessarily good. So you have to get that maturity level up a bit before it's realistic to roll it out.
And also with the... Sorry, Simon. With the maturity model when it comes to people and staff and training, because like it's also we expect people to learn faster, but we have really hit the roof on that. I think that we really need to like, no, we can't expect people just to learn this because obviously we don't. We need to have more structure and order to get there, and we need to measure it in some way, and we need to put in. So we're going to do these new security things where we put in the process. We're going to use AI, and you have to control the data. Then be like, okay, if you don't know how to do that, you can't just be like, oh, well, then there's a human error. Well, human error is not acceptable to a certain level, and businesses really need to embrace that. So that's also something with the maturity level, because if you go, okay, we're going to have 400 and 500 in all of these levels, and then we're going to ignore these levels where we are like 100 and be like, no, it doesn't work like that. We really need to move some of the things along the way. Yeah. Are we running out of time? Yes, we are. Mark, you're such a good guy.
We're out of time.
We're running out of
here's
time.
So here's our closing slide. We probably had most of these links on previous slides, but these are links that can get you to the content, the videos, the ongoing invitation. If there's anything, I mean, there's been some great chat on the side today. We'll definitely mind that when we get back together as a core team. So thanks very much for coming. Please stay involved. We do these calls every month, the third Tuesday of the month. And we hope we'll see you again at the next one.
Yes. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks so much. Take care. Have good weeks.
Thank you.